All right, we are live. Justin's already here.
Just in case. What's up, brother? How you doing? Let me get on my thing to see the chat. To the that. Like I was saying, I'm on two different. Look, they're still it's still going on. Stop texting people. Hey, I gotta. You want to know the truth of the matter is? Hey, there you go. It's low tech. I like the thing. I've come to the conclusion that Gabriel is infatuated with me.
Oh yeah, I could have told you that a long time ago.
Gabriel,
you would be correct on that assumption.
He got a thing from me.
He gets a little chubby when he sees you.
Yeah, I can't help him. I can't help it. Like I would definitely be infatuated with myself too if I was him. So, that's I'm trying to figure out because I had this set up to go up and down. Now I'm side to side. It's all discombobulated. All right. So anyway, what's up, man? What's up? I'm excited about this thing.
Well, I guess it all started with the conversation we had, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
I actually watched that live stream.
Well, I watched it because I was working in the fish room trying to move some racks around and stuff like that. So just to have some background noise, I was listening. It's one of those things where you know how you put on YouTube and then a video finish and another one starts.
Yep.
That's kind of what happened. Now I was listening to something. I think I was listening to Lush and Salty, one of his last video that he did. And then after that, it kicked in to that one because it just continues playing. I have autoplay. And then I said, all right, let's see what this is all about. But I remember when I first heard they were doing those live streams, I kind of got upset. And the reason I got upset is because that's what Steve and I were doing, similar live streams. And I was thinking, dirty. They wanted to take our idea and run with it. But then I saw their very first live stream. And I was like, oh no, it's nothing like what Steve and I are doing. Nothing. Not even close.
Yeah.
And then so I listened to it once and it wasn't for me. Just wasn't for me. So I haven't watched them. But this one just happened to be playing and I was listening to it and they caught my attention because they were talking about undergravel filters and they were talking about all the negative things about undergravel filters, which I kind of get. If you have a business that sells equipment, the last thing you're going to want to do is praise undergravel filters because undergravel filters are the one piece of equipment that you set it and forget it. You never have to fuss with it again.
So I looked through the list of topics. They have one that I don't know. I don't know what they say about it because I haven't watched it, but they have one for canister filters too. So I'm hoping that they went the same way. So here's the thing: I did a talk on my members only where I was like, where I talk about. I don't necessarily am talking bad about an individual when I use what they say. And then do my own twist on it because I have views on stuff that you just cannot put in the chat, right? You can't do that. It's just too much stuff. Sometimes it doesn't come off as genuine as you may feel it. When you write it out, it sounds really bad. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no context to what you're saying when you type. So it leaves it to that person's state of mind to interpret what you're saying and how you're saying it. There's no tone.
100%. So I don't really feel bad when I talk live stream about someone else's videos or somebody else's chats because I try to, as much as possible, say, good and bad things, whatever I felt about it. And to the most part, everybody that I've seen, there is something I agree with and something I don't agree with. But hey, this is America. You know what I mean? We can do that here. You know what I mean? But we're talking about under gravel filters.
Well, low
And
tech. Actually, the whole thing is supposed to be we're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
low
low
tech.
tech.
But in this particular case right
Yeah,
now, that live stream was about under gravel filters, and it kind of led into just low tech in general. But I just wanted to get, in case there was people out there going like, "What's he talking about?" I just wanted to give them some
yeah,
backstory. So,
yeah.
um,
I know you
low
and I
tech,
had a. I know you and I had a really interesting
yeah,
conversation because
yeah,
we look at the hobby from a different point of view.
and that's pretty much, and that's okay. So the name of this live stream is low tech, right? My live stream, I titled it low tech versus high tech and stuff like that. But low tech in general, I this is my view on low tech. Obviously, if you have a low tech, there must be an opposite end of that spectrum, which would be high tech. And my thing is what constitute a low tech tank? And is it better than high tech? Is high tech just a waste of money to do the same exact thing you can do on a low tech? So, what do you consider as a low tech tank to you?
Well, a low tech tank to me is not using a lot of technology to achieve an outcome. And what I mean by
Okay.
that is, but you see, it's really this hobby. You could equate it to me. There's a lot of similarities to like the car hobby, and here's where I'm going with that because you and I can both buy a Honda Civic,
Uh huh.
and I could drive it the way it is stock,
Mm-hmm.
nothing fancy or whatever. But if you have the budget, you can do a lot of modifications to that vehicle to make it a high performance vehicle. The hobby is the same way. The hobby is exactly the same way because you can get into the hobby with a real basic base model kind of aquarium or no bells and whistles, which
Uh
I
huh.
would consider a low tech, or you can soup it up and do all these these high intensity lights with CO2 and all these gadgets within the aquarium and make it a high tech aquarium. But I think the hobby in itself, what they talk about high tech, it's almost always CO2 and really powerful lights. Like these high efficiency lights because of the plants that they're also growing. 'Cause a lot of times low techs are, I mean, high tech tanks are associated with aquascape tanks and stuff like that. Um,
And see, but what about filtration? Is there a
well,
high tech? I
because
mean,
here's the thing though, when you start getting into the aquascaping, 9 out of 10 times you want to hide the filtration. So if you want to hide the filtration, you're going to go with a canister, which is considered high tech. It's just, and they're not cheap, especially if you start getting into that aquascape world. You could be paying $300-400 for a little canister filter that's going to go hit away somewhere.
so for people who say they have low, see, this is what I feel is I think if you have to plug it into the wall, it automatically turns it into high tech. That's my personal view on what a high tech, low tech is. If you have to plug something in the wall, it's high tech. That's
Yeah,
just, I mean, like where is the line drawn between a low tech tank and a high tech? Because is it the
it's a
lighting?
cost. No, it's a cost thing.
Cost. That's what I'm
It's a
saying.
cost thing.
I feel like people call their tanks high tech because they buy expensive crap to do the same stuff that a low tech tank could do.
Yes and no. I mean, again, it all depends on what the outcome you're trying to achieve.
Clean water,
Sometimes,
healthy clean
well,
water. That's everybody's
yeah,
outcome.
yeah, well, that's for filtration though. But
Yeah.
if you're trying to obtain a certain look, like one of these you know uh, landscape aquascapes that they do. Well, there's going to be certain things that you're going to have to do to be able to achieve that. I mean, you have to because you gotta buy certain plants to be able to do that stuff, and those certain plants require certain technology to be able to grow efficiently. Because that's why you have high requirement plants because they're not going to grow on a regular incandescent. They're gonna require all these other things, all these other additives to make them. Well, and that, you know what? It's not even necessarily grow, but to make them grow quick. I guess it's the whole thing again with the car concept. You're making it go faster.
I think it's a matter of opinion. I mean, if
Yeah.
you had like I believe this is my personal opinion. If you have to plug it into the wall, it's automatically high tech. But does that mean it's better? Is it better?
Mm,
Is high tech better? The stuff is more expensive, so it's got to work better, right? Your fish got to grow faster, live longer, and be able to like bench press stuff because you spent hundreds of dollars on a FX47. So I mean, your fish are definitely better. You're a better fish keeper. The more you spend, the better fish keeper you are. It's a fact. That's what they say.
wow, that was you know what you know what it was. I don't even think it was. It was a contradictory.
When I'm saying
Uh,
day, I'm talking about day, the imaginary day,
yeah, yeah.
the gratuitous day. I
At the end of the day, it really boils down to who gives a fuck. It's whatever you want to do that matters. What are you trying to accomplish? What makes you happy? That's the way I look at it.
okay. Let me
Um,
give you some scenarios. You
all
tell
right.
me high tech or low tech. Um, Floodlights or LED lights.
Aren't they both the same?
That yeah, but one is bought on Amazon for cheap, and the other one's crazy expensive because it has the stamp of a fish on it. But I can
Oh,
tell you right now, that tank right there is doing great with plants with a floodlight on it, a LED floodlight, and then this whole row also the plants are doing great with high guard planted lights with blues and
yeah.
reds, and it can do all kinds of stuff and do the moon and change colors. Is great. Has a timer that I don't know how to work, so it comes on in the middle of the night
I guess
and like
that's where
3 in the morning.
you would differentiate. I guess the high tech. Well, one of them. It's also the uh, you know the strength of the light to be able to penetrate the water. What they call PAR.
Part.
Um,
So
Yeah, so I guess that's where you start kind of if you really start wanting to figure out what a high tech light is, it's going to be one that's going to be able to get to the bottom of your aquarium.
so I got
Now,
I got high tech floodlight aquarium light.
I
I
guess
could just move it closer to the water.
that's the whole thing, though. Look, it's funny
I,
because my whole fish room is run nothing but shop lights. You see the little shop lights you see up there?
yeah,
Those
yeah,
those
yeah.
are those are and the temperature on those and it's temperature because it's not necessarily they're just I think 5500 kelvins. So basically it mimics daylight.
Mhm.
Now are they full spectrum and all that? I'm assuming they are because they're daylight. Daylight has all the colors. Um, does it grow plants? It grows the plants that I needed to grow. What's up?
So real fast, I know we're gonna try and hold the comments to a minimum. But Fathom, well, Silver Creek says high tech is programmable. You could do the Wi-Fi app, the Bluetooth, and all that. But apparently, Fathom, who's been doing videos on the AquaClear, the new AquaClear, hang on the back filter. Someone told him that if they're not using a title,
Oh yeah.
um, which I think is funny because I actually did a review on Tidal when they first came out. I got it sent to me from KG Tropicals, and I did a review on it. I actually liked the title, but and then it was no high tech to it. But the Aqua Clear filter still pushes more water and has more uh, uh, um, filter media space. So
Well, I
um,
guess to try to narrow down this topic because uh, that whole topic you can get into lights, you can get into CO2 systems, you can get into
yeah,
filtration, even the glass on the aquarium. That could be high tech because if it's that low
yeah.
iron, So, but I guess coming down to the basic filtration, or I guess the whole root of this is the discussion of under gravel filters, and this is a
Hmm.
conversation that I've been having lately with a couple of people
Okay,
as to why I think they've kind of gone away, and the real basic reason is not because they don't work. It's been proven. I mean, it was the go-to filtration for several years
they work.
when I was starting in the hobby. The
Yeah.
problem is you don't have to replace shit. on an undergravel filter. Nothing breaks. There's nothing mechanical. There's no well, that's not true, because they started coming out with the little carbon cartridges you would put up on the uplift tube.
But I never used them.
Yeah, no, but that was a way to get you to be
Buy
able
some
to
more stuff. Yeah.
some more stuff. So obviously, if you have an industry that's trying to put out new products and trying to make money, the last thing they're going to want you to buy something that you set it and forget it.
Yeah.
And how do you get rid of a product like that? Is you start generating false claims that it does things that are not necessarily true. And people that are not too savvy or haven't really had experience will hear these claims and then run away and try to get what's supposed to be better, whatever it is they're trying to sell them, whether it's a sponge filter, whether it's a hang on the back, whether it's an internal filter, a canister, sump, whatever it is. My whole thing with that is they all work. I've tried every single method of filtration and they all work.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I believe that there's a filter for every tank and a tank for every filter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that particular live stream that was that in question about the why canister filters suck ass basically was generally the theme of the whole thing was they gave a whole lot. I personally have used undergravel filters with success if I knew the purpose. You know what I mean? Like there was a purpose for it. I would still, I don't now because I don't have the purpose for it. But does that mean my tank is in jeopardy? Should I go with a high tech?
There's an argument. There's an argument.
That was the whole thing. Like you're doing wrong by your fish by going low tech. You need or going with the underground filter. You're doing it wrong.
The argument they brought up is if you have a fish that likes to dig nests in the substrate and get down all the way to the bottom of the glass, kind of like what convicts will do, kind of like what I guess tilapias do that. To a certain extent, Vegas, Oscars will lay on rocks though, don't they?
So what? Usually they what you talking about spawn?
Well, just moving the substrate to make just disturbing substrate in general for whether it's for nesting, breeding. Their argument was that if you have that type of fish, it's going to remove what's doing your whatever material you have over that undergravel filter, and it's going to expose it, and now you're going to lose the effectiveness of the filtration because now it's become open air,
which is 100% true. That does happen. It's 100%. Yeah, no. It's what I'm getting at is 100% true if you have an Oscar in a tank. But I use underground filters with angelfish. No issues with anything whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the usage.
I used to be of the same opinion until I don't know whose video I was watching, and it just kind of drew my attention because it was precisely a tank full of Oscars, and the guy had made a way to make sure they didn't get all the way to the bottom. Obviously, it's going to require a deeper substrate than you already have in there, because what he was doing, he laid his regular foundation, whatever it is that he was doing, and on top of that sand, he put egg crate. The light diffuser, the little squares, the white squares.
Yeah,
he laid that and then put gravel over it. So if the Oscars decided to move the substrate, they would be able to dig until they hit the light diffuser or the egg crate, and they wouldn't be able to get past that. So they never exposed what was underneath of it, which was your filtration system. Obviously, that gives you a much deeper substrate, which that's what they were complaining about too, that if you did that, then you reduce the water volume inside the aquarium. But if you're keeping an Oscar, you already got them in over 100 plus.
You should have plenty of water volume, regardless if you're going with 1 inch to 2 inch to 3 inches of gravel. I feel you. Yeah, no. another subject, which because like I had in my 75, I had an under gravel filter, and in all actuality, the simplicity of it and it was what draws me to it. I did siphon the under gravel filter from the lift tubes, and I did pull everything out. It was like doing a gravel vac because you had
Well,
all the weight of that water pushing down, going through the rocks, and literally it was just blackness coming out of the tube
but
for a while.
but and I think here what really has to boil it really boils down to application, and that's kind
Yeah,
of the way we
yeah,
were going
application,
because
100%
one of the
application.
arguments was, um, detritus or moam in an aquarium. A lot of the people that keep the bigger fish more than likely don't have plants in the aquarium, and if they do,
Yeah,
they're artificial plants. And a
yeah,
lot of it is just because there's such big body fish that they'll move, rearrange everything in the aquarium, or they'll just simply eat the plants. So in that situation, maybe it would kind of make sense not necessarily to run an under gravel filter, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. Because they were saying that all of a sudden you have all this detritus on the surface of the sand, and it looks nasty, and this and this and that. So it really is a preferential. Um, it's a preferential choice or whatever it is you want to do, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. That was my thing.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't mean that it's bad. The other thing they were saying is because you have this accumulation of all the detritus, and that's bad for the water. No, it isn't, because eventually that becomes inert and it doesn't have any nutrients. It is just basically becoming dirt or
Mhm.
substrate. Now, if you don't like that look, I can understand that, and that's
Yeah,
perfectly fine. But don't tell me that that's bad for the fish, because eventually any nutrients in it, it gets depleted, and then it just becomes inert substrate.
yeah,
So, because that was part also of the argument. Oh, it gets trapped under the under gravel filter,
yeah.
and that's gonna shoot up your nitrates, and it's gonna do all this and this and this and that. Same thing could happen with a hang on the back filter that you don't clean out, or a sponge filter you don't clean out.
True,
But
true.
but again, eventually all of that stuff just becomes inert. It just becomes it. If you have the correct biological filtration within your aquarium,
Uh,
it'll consume those nitrate those
I tell,
yeah the nitrates.
I tell you what though, I would use an under gravel filter with this. What is this red stuff over here called? I know you the red little chip stuff.
The eco complete,
Yeah, that stuff. I would use
or is
I would
the stratum? Is it
I
fluval, or is it
yep. I don't know. It's a little chips. It's like little. It looks like
okay?
little lava chips.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the eco complete.
Yeah, so I would use
Oh,
it with that
fluorite.
because this stuff is way smaller than regular gravel. So it will provide, and it is porous, so it will provide a whole lot of beneficial bacteria, area for beneficial bacteria to grow. Um, but they did come up with some things that I did feel was valid, which was if you did have an Oscar or something like that, but you already talked about putting an egg crate. I something I can't talk about is plants. I've never seen, and this is the part that was I thought was kind of interesting because I know you do an under gravel plenum and
Yeah.
you have planted tanks, so that's where I'm kind of like I don't know. I know people have planted tanks. They use the plenums. They've been doing it for years. Under a plenum ain't nothing but an under gravel filter used differently, but
Yeah, it's just slow moving water. That's really what
yeah.
it is. That's the only difference.
So they were saying that the roots would clog up the holes, not allowing water to actually pass. I think they were a little bit underestimating how water will find a way, but I can't talk on that because I don't have plants. But you do. So how
Yeah.
does your plenums do with plants? Have you ever took it apart and saw what happened to it after the fact?
Not yet. Not yet. And as a matter of fact, what I need to do is look under right now that I'm moving them to a different rack. Just look under there and see what it looks like, just out of curiosity. But I don't think it's even going to affect it at all, because again,
Mhm.
even if that Moam, detritus, whatever. Now, here's the other thing. One of the arguments was that the grates on these undergravel filters are so wide that it's going to allow sand and small gravel to leak its way through. Okay, but that's a real easy fix. That's a real easy fix. If that's a legitimate concern of yours, that's a simple fix. All you got to do is either get some of that geofabric that they use for landscaping, or mesh screening for your windows. Cut out a piece over the top of the grate, and that's it. Problem solved.
See, I looked underneath my tank when I had an undergravel filter, and I used the siphon out of the lift tubes, and that's how I siphon my water. And it wasn't enough to complain about. Like the amount of stuff wasn't enough. Now I could imagine if I didn't do regular water changes, then it might be a different story. It wouldn't settle enough to become hard and sticky, and encrust itself and stuff. But I did regular water changes, and it was never an issue underneath there. Would you rather do undergravel filter or a canister filter?
I don't see. You know what? I hate canister filters because
I
you gotta break them. I gotta break them down and do maintenance on them.
I do too. Like, honestly, I would definitely do an undergravel filter 100 times over before a canister filter.
As a matter of fact, I hate them so much that I haven't even broken down the one at the Children's Museum. It's still flowing. I think the day that I crack that sucker open is the day that no water comes out the.
Well, see, the problem is with canister filters, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I just I had what was that the brand with the white canister that is
Sun, yeah.
And that was the one thing that I dreaded, having to break all that stuff down, and you know, it just seemed a lot more complicated. But it's just a matter of.
So as a content creator, this is my only thing when it comes to suggesting, or what's the opposite of suggest?
Recommending.
Well, there's suggest, and then there's totally like shit on.
Okay.
As a content creator, like, all right, so this is when I think about anything when it comes to lights, plants, I automatically go to broke people, because that's what I know. I know about brokenness. I don't know about being able to swipe a card for anything I wanted, you know, and get the expensive canister filter, get the expensive lights, get the I don't know. So for me, I think about the people who don't have money, right? I would never tell people no to any products for the most part. What I would do is say, okay, well, this is the way in your situation you can use this to your advantage, or you can use it properly, or how to fit what you want to do. So if somebody came to me, and it happened often when I worked at LFSs, happened all the time. I have this size tank, and what are you using for filtration? I have an undergravel filter. Okay, bet. I'm not gonna be like, oh no, you're gonna kill all your fish. No. What I do is that, okay, so this is these undergravel filters are good for this, they're good for this, they're not good for this, they're not good for this. If this is what you're trying to accomplish, then, you know, either with the undergravel filter, this is the way to go about it. I think as a content creator, we got to be careful as to, you know, telling people they're wrong. I just that's a pet peeve for me when people say you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. I think it should be more as to, well, if this is the way you're gonna do it, this is how you should go about it. In my opinion, this is what I found that worked. I know one of the things as far as the underground filter was like, oh well, it's hard to take apart. I'll be honest with you, in a 75 gallon, trying to pull apart a 75 gallon and pull the underground filters is a pain in the butt. And they were saying, but you know, because you wanted to upgrade or something like that. In all honesty, if I was putting hang on the backs or canister filters, I wanted to get a new filtration system, I would just add it too. I think the undergravel filter with a hang on the back would work even better. You know, the hang on the back could be more of a polisher than anything else at that point.
That's what I was gonna tell you, and it's with any filtration system, which is crazy to a point. The dirtier it gets, the cleaner your water is going to be because it's going to have that fine particulate matter on it that's going to be able to trap more and more. Unfortunately, like sponge filters and canister filters and hang on the back's not so much. It's just going to overflow go to that little bypass that it'll have where the water can't get through there.
Yeah,
that's the only difference with that. But you know what? Some of the clearest water I have is in my undergravel filters.
Undergravel filter. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking about that too. I was like, some of the easiest, the most stable tanks I've had were undergravel filters. The most stable tanks I had were undergravel filters.
Now, also, if you are into shrimp, I hear they're highly recommended you go with
really
filter. Well, it makes sense because it's pulling everything to the gravel. And what are shrimp doing? They're always scavenging. So all the food, all the particulates that could be in there are getting sucked down to the gravel. Now the shrimp have somewhere to feed off of.
Do you think there should be, when it comes to shrimp and undergravel filters, you think there should be some type of a gravel requirement? Because I would imagine once they have little shrimplets, they could and get stuck down underneath there, huh? Or just live there forever.
Well, no, because how big of gravel are you using? I mean, it's just, are you using like pebbles? So even then, I don't think so. I don't think it's because I don't think that suction would be. It's a lot less than a sponge filter than a filter on a hang on the back. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. So I would imagine it is. So I was just wondering if they could make their way down in there just in general, up into the open part of the undergravel filter.
I don't know if to the open part that would. It depends how thick of a cap you're putting on there, but most people will put at least an inch over the top at the bare minimum. And if you're going with standard aquarium gravel, I don't really see them being able to get it on in there. Now, the suction or the siphon that it's doing is a lot weaker than on a pre-filter on a hang on the back, and they can detach away from that very easily. So
if you put a power head on it, is it now a high-tech underground filter?
I don't know. I've never put a.
According to me, it is.
I don't know why you would need a power head. I know they did it like in the late 70s, early 80s, I guess, or somewhere around there.
But I've done it. I put a power head on there. I didn't notice any difference in the water quality. I just noticed it moved more water because I had it shooting up at the top. And that's why I did it. I was like, dang, I need some surface tension. Because I used, the little white diffusers. Well, they put out really fine bubbles and it didn't really gyrate the top of the water like I wanted to. And I had access to these power heads. So I put power heads on there to shoot up. I didn't know that. All I noticed was more water movement, not necessarily a change in water quality because it was going through the system faster. I didn't notice that. It was just as good, but I don't know. I was watching. I just felt like undergravel filters were had a place in the hobby still, especially for broke people.
The thing is that filters have a place for anybody. It's for all budgets. I mean, look, if you have the money to buy a canister filter and that's what you want to do, then do it by all means.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't do that. It's I'm with you on that one because it felt like to me in that conversation that they were excluding people that did not have the means to be able to buy the higher tech stuff.
Yeah.
When in reality, this hobby, you can go no tech at all. No, I mean, how many times have you seen what's his name? God, the guy from the Philippines.
Oh, that's something world. Wayne's World?
Yeah.
Not Wayne's World. Not Waldo. It's not Wayne, it's not Waldo, but it's someone's world.
Yeah.
It's not Woody.
Dexter's world.
Dexter's world.
Yeah. if you look when he was doing a lot, he had little ponds that he was making with tarps and
Yeah,
little like 6x1s that he would build these ponds to
yeah.
breed
I
goldfish.
I like those. I like those.
And they weren't using any Wayne's World. That's a small fish. Yeah,
That's what I
Dexter's World.
said. Yeah.
and and you see videos of from overseas and all these other countries where Indonesia or
Yeah.
the Dominican Republic or South America where they're breeding a lot of these fish. They're not using.
Florida.
Look,
Florida.
yeah, but
We
aren't the fish farms running filtration?
Heck no, they're holes in the ground. They're literally holes in the ground. I was thoroughly amazed and disgusted at the same time at how much money I have spent keeping fish, and you come down to Florida and it's just a hole in the ground. And I'm like, and that's where, like, how do you keep the water clean? Oh, it's just natural. They just, yeah, this is that. I was like, I spent so much money on filtration to keep my water clean. Y'all just dug a hole in the ground, and this is where I get my fish from. Yeah, holes in the ground. That's it, brother. That's all.
Yeah, or you look at the guys in Indonesia or Thailand, and they have the inserts of the refrigerators, the plastic, and they just
Yeah,
put water in it. Put
I like
water.
when.
They add some water lettuce, and it's
Yep,
good. It's
they
golden.
cut they cut the 55-gallon drums in half.
Yeah, it's just anything that'll hold water. So I know that's one of the things that we were saying. Wow, how come nobody talks about the fact that if you want to get into this hobby, but you can't spend a lot of money, you can take a bucket.
You took
You can
yes.
take a bucket. Everybody has a bucket that you can put some water in there, cycle it, and be able to keep fish. How many times? As a matter of fact, I have buckets with water because when I do water changes out of the 10 gallons with the guppy
Thumbs
and the
up,
fry,
thumbs up. Uh-huh.
uh, uh, I always throw it into that bucket first in case I siphon some of the fry. And I'll come back a day or two after everything settles down, and there'll be fry in there. So I mean, and sometimes I just leave them. I don't mess with them. I
I'm
just
gonna tell you.
let them
I'm
grow
gonna tell
up.
you. I'm gonna tell you what used to piss me off. Angelfish breeding. I used
Okay.
1 gallon jars or little 5 gallon aquariums, 10 gallon aquariums, and I used to have to move eggs around. And every once in a while, these eggs from the angelfish would fall off, or I thought they was dead or whatever, and they would
Uh,
end up in weird places. But I spent so much time paying attention to the clutch of eggs on this slate. Had air. I had methylene blue. I did all this stuff, and eggs would just fuzz up and die. But I kept finding little baby angelfish all over the damn place, and I'm like, hold up, why am I spending so much time, effort when these things they hatch without me even trying? So yeah, I think these fish are way more resilient. I don't know. High tech to me just seems like a gimmick.
well,
Um,
just think about how better
Gimmicky.
are bred. It's in
Yeah,
standing, a little bit of standing water. Maybe you drop an almond leaf in there, and
yep,
they'll breed. And
yeah.
so I don't know. It's just the more that I do this, the more I discover that the more we mess with things, the more we make it harder.
Yeah, I think we do make it harder. I think this should, and it's hard because I really wish some of the big YouTubers would really, really push low tech, cheap DIY. And it used to DIY was huge 6 years ago. That's how
Well,
Joey got big. You know what I mean? The
but
the
look at it this way too, though.
uh
Think about all these channels you're talking about. One of the things they have in common now is they're not just depending on ad revenue.
yeah,
They've been able to take their audience and wrap a business around it.
yeah,
That's what's happened.
yeah,
So now,
yeah.
now that you wrap around a business around it, you want to make sales. You
True.
want to make sales. So the last thing you're going to be telling somebody is you don't need this. That's the last thing you're going to be telling. Because if you tell somebody you don't need this, then why do I want to buy it? Now, if you're telling people on the regular, you really need this because X, Y, and Z, then people will go, oh, okay, I need to buy it. I need that. That's why you don't hear the bigger channels, especially the ones that have a thriving business behind it, tell
Yeah,
you otherwise.
I feel you. I feel you. But I need Fritz. That they said Fritz. If I didn't put Fritz in my tank, everything's gonna die. CCAM and Fritz and all that, they all gonna die.
But that's when you start looking
Everything's
at
gonna die.
that's when you have you know what, it was funny that we're even talking about this because I guess it's in general. The minute a sponsor comes in and
Uh-huh.
starts sponsoring you with products, your philosophy changes.
I
And
wonder about that.
I was looking at a video because I need to replace my clippers. I bought
Uh-huh.
the cheap clippers that you get at Walmart like for 30 some dollars, right?
You're talking about
Well,
facial clippers?
yeah, hair clippers.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, and I cut my wife's hair too. So she goes, "Why don't we buy a good set of clippers?" So I was looking on YouTube to see. I don't need to get the professional, um, barber clippers, but I
Mm-hmm.
like to get something better than what I would be able to buy at Walmart. And it was so funny because one of the guys that was doing a review on these clippers, he goes, "The problem is that a lot of these reviews, you really have to be careful because they are sponsored. They're being sponsored
Mm,
by that product, and they're going to
yeah.
tell you that is the product. And if there's and a lot of these, the big names in that industry, they're going to tell you, oh, so and certain off brand is not good because it's not this brand. So, even then, when you start dealing with that stuff, you really, when you start dealing with sponsorships, you got to, unless you're a person who has integrity and
Yeah.
doesn't fall prey to that and that whole trying to plead, believing their what they're preaching, then it's going to be hard. Like I've said, and I've always made this argument about the guys that are plugging products. I wish they would be a little bit. They, c- I'm not taking. I'm not trying to take food off their table,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that those products don't work. But what I am saying is you can also do it without those products, but you can do both. You can sell the product, you can promote the product, but you can also say at the same time, you don't necessarily need to have the product. But if you want quicker results, if you're somebody that's very impatient, then this could help. This X product can help. But if you don't care about that and you're willing to wait, you can accomplish the same thing by doing it this way.
It's
This
really
is,
only no, I
it's
got you. Go
just
ahead.
it's just a way to be able to accelerate the process. And a lot of us, when we're new hobbyists, we want things now, now, now. And I think in general society, it's become more of that where it's like instant gratification.
So
But
how do we feel about how do we feel about I mean while we're on the subject of pushing products, Hygar. I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of. I viewed some of the stuff I saw product testers on, and I was like, I don't know about that, but that's not the result I got. But because they got it for free, and you know what? I can see where like a channel just starting out would be fall into that.
well,
I did.
yeah, you fall into the trap because that's
You
the
feel
first.
like, yeah,
And it's at 300 subscribers. Once you hit that 300, Hager is real quick to send you an email, especially if you put it on your about page. And
speaking of, yeah, speaking of,
and
I'm about to replace these high guards with floodlights. I'm sorry. I am.
I like I said, I have had no problems with my. As a matter of fact, I've had to raise them higher, my shop lights, to avoid getting too much hair algae on the glass.
I
but
just
but they're just not aesthetic though. If you're okay with the aesthetic side of it, if you don't really care too much about that, then do that. But if you really wanted something, but you see, again, it's all about application. Because if you're gonna
yeah.
put this in the middle of your living room and you want it to be a centerpiece,
Yeah.
don't put a shop light on it because it's not
No,
gonna look
now
good.
it
It's not
depends.
gonna.
It depends. I've used shop lights where they look good. If you hang them to where they look suspended, like I've used those, those little clamp lights
Mm-hmm.
that clamp on and stuff like that. I've
Oh,
suspended
you've done
those
them as
from,
pendulums, yeah.
yes, pendulums. They looked so cool. They had a very retro kind of look to them, and it looked good. It looked good. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't know. I the only watching that live stream, I was thinking about, like I said, I think about the poor kids who don't have the money,
Yeah.
where you know all they can do is use what would make sense. Their parents ain't gonna give them money. I'm sorry. They live in Section 8. They go to school. They go to fishy business class, and they learn about fish, but they go home and they can't get it because the money's not there for the simplest of luxuries. So instead of saying no, 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 let's say, okay, let's get it done. Let's do this. This is what you do. You get yourself some PVC, some elbows, some caps, boom, pop, boom. Go to Home Depot with some gravel. Rinse it out. Put it in you want to use a tote. Use a tote. You're in about $30. $30.
Well,
You know.
even you don't even have to go like that. One of my favorite videos that you did was the one where you were showing the totes
Yeah, I
outside.
like that. Yeah.
How to do an aquarium out of a tote. And I remember when I was first getting in, I wanted to have more tanks,
Yeah.
but I don't want to spend the money on buying aquariums.
Mm-hmm.
So a tote. Most of us will have a tote laying around that nobody's using anymore.
Yeah.
Or if you really want to find one, all you got to do is drive around the block, and you're bound to find one sitting out in the front that
Oh
somebody's
yeah,
trying to
most
get
of
rid of.
Sam's Club actually has 2 tote combo for $16.50. Big,
No,
decent
but
size one.
as a kid, sometimes you don't have $16. You don't have $20.
No, I
So
feel
all
you.
you got to do is a little bit of legwork, or you go onto Marketplace on Facebook and you look at the yard sales or whatever. You'll probably be able to go get one for like $1.
Okay,
It'll be a nice 20-gallon tote.
so kid goes to fishing business class. Fishing business gives him a tank, 10-gallon tank. All right, so he got a tank. They got a tank. We're going low tech. We're going low budget, super low budget. What are we talking about?
Use the light in the room,
Oh,
just the
ambient light.
ambient light. Um, I would go, but you know me, man. I'm gonna tell them. Well, the easiest plant that gives you the more plants is jungle fowl. That's all you take is all you need is one little bunch, plug it in there, and eventually the whole tank will be full. What happened to you? Where'd you go?
Where'd you go? Don't ask me where I went. Where'd you go? I've been here the whole time.
And
All right.
or you could do that. A stem plant that's real simple would be. See, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a stem plant because you got to use root taps, unless you use dirt. But that's just for a new kid. That's kind of
So let me show you what I've done in the past for a simple. I'll use this cup. It's a
hornwork.
it's
I
it's
would
a
use
high
hornwork.
yeah homework. It's a hybrid of a under gravel filter, a box filter, and a using plants as filtration. What I did was I got me a container, like a plastic container, anything about this shallow and
Water containers.
about 6 inches round. You can go bigger depending on how tall your tank is. You can use Tupperware. You can use any of that stuff. You get yourself gravel. You put it in there. You put a piece of PVC in there. So that's why you want it, to be about this stuff. You put a piece of PVC in there, right? You pop some holes in the PVC. You can get anything to put some holes in it. You put your airline and your thing in the center of that pipe. Now you have a container with gravel and a pipe sticking out of it. You can go ahead and put plants in there, put on the air filter, and you have a weird underground, but aesthetically it looks good. Aesthetically it looks good, you know. and it's super super cheap because you can use any type of container. You can use a 6-inch flower pot. You just have to cover the hole at the bottom with a piece of plastic and then put your gravel on it. So the water goes up into the gravel and goes out of the tube. And by you putting plants in there, it also is taking all that nutrients to the roots. I did it a bunch of times, and it costs absolutely damn near nothing. You go around people's houses and take the PVC off their air conditioner systems. You just gotta wash it out real good. You get the gravel from anywhere, right? You could literally, I mean, you only need enough gravel to fill up a flower pot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can get it from anywhere. Out here in Florida, actually, gravel's kind of hard to come across because it's either if there's gravel somewhere, it's because somebody put it there for pavement or something, which you don't really want to use if cars have been driven over it.
Here's the thing, though. If you really, really wanted to go low tech,
mm-hmm.
I would just tell the kid, get the aquarium,
mm-hmm.
go find a patch of dirt, whether it's close to a lake or if you have forest out in the forest where it's not, within the city limits, scoop up some dirt, throw it in there. And that's it. Call it a day, man.
SWFL Aquatics says they're going next door to get some drain line. Bro, just get yourself a little. You want to do? You can do it with a saw and cut it, or you can get yourself one of them click the little PVC cutters real fast. Just get yourself a little bit of PVC. Just make sure you clean it out real good. You gotta clean it out real good. Maybe let it soak in some vinegar.
Why would you have to clean it out? Because it's just condensation.
It's just condensation, but when you clean the coils, you put like on your yearly maintenance, you clean out. So you want to put it in like some vinegar. You know what I mean? Let it sit in some vinegar. Clean it out real good. But don't do that. What I just said. Everything I said, just totally disregard. Don't go around cutting your nail. If you're gonna do that, just go ahead and take the whole damn condenser and get some money, and then take that money and just buy the underground filter setup. That's what I'm saying. Copper. You know.
Yeah, no, that's what the little filter you were describing with the cat and stuff like that. I guess it is kind of like a bog filter what you were doing.
Yeah. That's exactly what I did. I did it multiple. I've done it out of little bottles like this, where I cut the top off, filled it up with gravel, put a piece of PVC in there, and then put plants in there. And it was just the water would just go through and up the PVC.
Well, I'm doing that, but not for a filter. I'm doing it because I don't want to. I wanted to keep it's a breeding tank that I have for guppies, and the problem is if you have plants that are planted in the substrate, sometimes it gets a little bit harder because you can't move them. So I have them in. Matter of fact, let me go get it.
Yep, I'm gonna go to the chat real fast. I use the sand in the alley behind my house. Now that's the one thing about I've never used sand as a filter media.
All right, don't judge me.
Too late.
The leftover. Oh, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. The leftover canisters from.
Those work.
Peanuts. Well, what I do is I drill the bottom and the sides.
It did it again. Oops! Yeah. It did it again.
And I put I make it like a planter, like a potting plant.
Yeah.
And then I can have plants. I can grow plants out of this thing. And when I need to catch fry and stuff like that, I just pull this out of the way. And now I have it. I have no substrate, nothing in that aquarium. Yeah. It's easy to scoop everything out.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, obviously I do these because I have plenty of these that we have left over.
Yeah.
But you could use something like a yogurt container or sour cream or
that container right there. If you filled it up with gravel, get a PVC with a cap, put some little itty bitty holes so that the gravel doesn't clog up the holes, and you put it down the center and fill it in with gravel, it's a under gravel filter. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
You go ahead and put some plants in there, you're just
box
making
filter.
it even better. A box filter. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's a mix between an under gravel filter, a box filter. It's actually free. That's the thing. It's free. You just need that much PVC. You can use anything for a cap. You could get plastic, put around the bottom, and use some fishing string, tie it up. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Put it down in there. It's the cheap under gravel filter and all this DIY stuff. That's where a lot of people start out with. I mean, they either do that or kits.
No,
kit.
not everybody. I think a lot of it is circumstances.
True.
One of the things that I really love seeing about the channels in Mexico when a lot of these guys are starting out, because they want to get into the hobby, but it is, even for us, $10 hang on the back filter for them is about a 2 days worth of salary. So they get real creative, real ingenious, and you see a lot of homemade stuff that might not look necessarily the prettiest, but it works.
It works.
They're able to capture the same concept of that filtration system, and they adapt it to their needs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I wish more people would talk about, that you don't necessarily, you can still do this hobby 100% and with very little money. Very little money.
You want to know the sad part is? We're over here talking about somebody should make a video about this when we both have channels. But why? Hey, man. But I know. I don't know. I might be able to package a video showcasing that where it would get some traction. But it would be nice to get a large channel where I get a whole lot of eyes on it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I should do a video about that. Oh, what you looking at? Something happened. Does he see a spider? He sees a spider. Oh, the missus. She's about to smack him in the mouth. Watch. You're going to see a hand come out of nowhere because it's a green screen. Punch him in the mouth. That's what he get. That's what he get. I said he was just going to see the hand come out of the green screen.
No, that's why I responded. The boss was calling me.
Well, mine came in the same time yours did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done some of that stuff. As a matter of fact, one of the ones that I did, but the problem is that I did it so early when I was starting out that not many people.
It didn't get traction, so we got to redo our video.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. But just even for me, like somebody who lives out in my area, you can go collect all the materials you need for free: gravel, sand. All you're gonna have to do is a little bit of extra work if you really want to, separate the materials. But it's nothing that you can't sift through a couple of different diameter sifters and be able to get all this material that you're going to use for your aquariums. All my aquariums here, they don't have store-bought anything really. Well, no, that's not true. They have a couple of them have hang in the back filters, which are originally store-bought, and so are the glass boxes. But
you want to know the truth of the matter? I hate hang on the back filters.
You know what?
They're right there with canister filters. I cannot decide which one I hate more.
Well, I'll tell you what. For a beginner, everybody says sponge filters, but I think even a hang on the back, it's a lot easier. Because with a sponge, the problem is once you go to pull that sponge out of the aquarium, you have all this debris that flies off of it, and it dirties up the tank.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with that. But that is an issue. And or you have to figure out how to put a bag in there, trap it, and pull it all out. It just seems more work. You got to get your hands wet. Hang on the back filter. You just pull the media, rinse it if you're gonna use the same media again, and put it back in, and that's it. You don't have to get your.
I would agree with you if you were talking about an aqua clear. I don't agree if you get kit with a whisperer on it.
That's what I use.
See, I don't feel like whisperers by themselves can hold as the whisperer is with that little piece of plastic as the
Oh,
biomedia thing,
no, no,
can
no, no.
hold
But
the amount of fish people keep.
immediately, what you do is you toss that and replace it with a sponge.
But it's still a slim back. It's still slim back there. That's
It's
one of the
great.
reasons why aqua clears are so big, because they got a huge area to put all that biological
Yeah,
media.
but again, your biological or your beneficial bacteria is not only on that little that filter itself. It's all over the aquarium. Even in the ones that are what do you call the ones that don't have anything, no gravel, no nothing, the glass bottoms. Even them on the glass surfaces, you still have beneficial bacteria.
I know, but let's be real. They're starting out in a hobby. They're overfeeding. Not enough beneficial bacteria to deal with that. They overstock their tanks. Not enough beneficial bacteria to deal with that. And that's the way I'm saying. Like, there's people out there where, you know, if you just show them how, like, a lot of the problems in most filters in general, I don't care what filters, whether it's a undergravel filter, a canister filter, hang on the back filter, whatever, the biggest problem with them not being able to keep up is overfeeding. It's like always, like, it's just, yeah, you got a filter on it, but you still feed them too much. It can't keep up.
Yeah. Well, but does it really though? I've always been under the understanding that the beneficial bacteria will proliferate to meet the demands of whatever is available in
Yeah, it does. It does. It does, but you got to take into consideration the time it takes for that beneficial bacteria to grow, because it takes time for the stuff to grow and meet the needs of the bioload. It doesn't happen like immediately, like grows over everything. It got to take time. It takes time for it to grow. So if you have a tank that's fairly new, because it's a first timer who just bought it, they set it up and they go every week. They take their water and they're adding fish, 5 fish all the time, every week. Pong, 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 pong. They don't have enough beneficial bacteria to meet those needs. And that's where chemicals like Fritz 7 and other stuff and stability come into play. You know what I mean? And they get used to it, you know?
I think the only time I needed that stuff was when the very first aquarium that I set up. Then after that, you're always going to have, if you want to start up another aquarium, you're always going to have bacteria on hand that's going to be able to expedite the process, and so that you can almost immediately put fish in. So
see, I don't, and now that you mention it, I don't really agree. I agree to a point that the beneficial bacteria grows to meet the needs of the fish. If that was the case, then there should never be a phrase that any experienced fish keeper anytime should ever say the phrase overstocked. If that is the case, there should never be a reason for a experienced fish keeper to look at another tank and say, "Oh,
what
it's
exactly
overstocked."
is overstock though? What is?
But that's my point. Overstock is when your beneficial, in my opinion, is when your beneficial bacteria cannot meet the needs of the bioload that your fish are producing, whether it be food, any of that, plants, any of that stuff that are dying in there, crap. Once your beneficial bacteria cannot meet the needs, then it's, in my opinion, officially overstocked. Now that's just, I mean, there's also the overstock where there's aggression going on. But if the case is, if the phrase, "Oh, it's overstocked and you need more filtration," that should never be a case. You should be able to go and have any size tank. It doesn't matter the size. It doesn't matter how many fish, with the simplest of smallest whispers, and say, okay, well, the beneficial bacteria will eventually meet the leads. But that's not really the case, though. Yeah, beneficial bacteria will grow, but there's still a limit. You know, it will grow on everything in your tank, but there's still a limit.
Yeah, but I guess really where the only place that I would think overstock is like with larger body fish. I guess that's the only, because I've had 10 gallons where I'm breeding. When I was breeding guppies,
Hmm.
it was full of them suckers in there.
But what was you using for filtration?
Sponge filter, like we know the little small sponge filter for like a 10-gallon aquarium.
Hmm.
But that was it. It did have, you know, I had gravel in there, but that's part of also the biological filtration that was going on.
But
But
you did regular water changes,
yeah, you have to,
and
especially because you're trying to grow out the fry.
well, and the fact that they were fry is a lot. That you don't have a lot of extra food because they are fry. They're gonna consume it, burn it up as much as possible. I don't know. It's just the whole phrase of beneficial bacteria will meet the needs of your aquarium regardless. I don't necessarily rock with that theory. It does catch up to a point, but you can still overload your beneficial bacteria with extra food, and extra crap. You still can do it. It happens all the time, and we see the tank, and we're like, "Well, it's overstocked. You have too many fish. You don't have enough biological filtration." If there was no such thing as overstock because biological beneficial bacteria grows over everything, then that would never be a phrase we ever utter. You know. Yeah, I kind of put ABC's last comment up there. See, so here's how I learned beneficial bacteria is, and this is how I did a video on this. So beneficial bacteria to me, I always call it like a child. It starts to grow. Now, when it starts to grow, it gets bigger, it grows. It's kind of like a child. It consumes a lot in its growing stage, right? Now, once the beneficial bacteria has kind of basically got old, it it doesn't consume as much, and that's where going to the bucket and rinsing it out and knocking off all that old beneficial bacteria comes into play, because now you give it more room for younger beneficial bacteria to continue to grow and in their growing stage consume more. So there is a level where beneficial bacteria kind of gets overwhelmed. You know,
Mm.
that's how I've always like it doesn't consume. Like if you had one little, let's just say it's a speck. Let's think of it like a Pac-Man. Once that beneficial bacteria is established, like a little Pac-Man, gobble 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 gobble, it does not consume the same amount of biological waste from the beginning of its existence to the end. At some point, that individual little piece of biological filtration slows down, just like getting old. That's when you clean off the sponge filter and you get a new one to have new stuff grow and gobble 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 gobble. When beneficial bacteria is in its growing stage is when it consumes the most.
Yeah, but isn't it replicating
Replicating.
constantly though?
It is, but it starts out as a young speck of beneficial bacteria and matures. That maturing age, it doesn't replicate and become automatically a mature speck of beneficial bacteria. It starts out young and it matures. While it's maturing, that's when it consumes the most. It slows down with the lifespan of that little piece of beneficial bacteria. Bacteria is a living organism, so there's a beginning, middle, and end to it.
Yeah, but by that same token, as it dies out, you have new bacteria that's replacing it. So
You got to give
I
it
don't
surface
see.
area.
Yeah,
So you
but
got to get rid of that old stuff. You got to get rid of the old stuff so it has surface area to grow. That's where the cleaning of the filtration. If that was the case, then I could have a sponge filter, never clean it out, and 50 years old, and it's cleaning better than a new one. When we know that's not the
Well,
case.
because what's happening there, it's getting all the orifices on it are getting impacted with waste,
Yeah, you
and
said orifice.
that's why eventually there's no water's going to be able to penetrate it, but
Mhm.
you still have all that beneficial bacteria on it. I mean, the reason you're rinsing it is not necessarily to get rid of the dead bacteria. It's you're rinsing it to be able to open up those pores again so that it does its mechanical filtration. Because that's really what a sponge filter is doing. It's doing mechanical filtration.
I don't know, man. I agree with you, but I always have the best water when I clean out when I get rid of the old biological filtration off my stuff.
But
You know, when I get
are you sure it's the bacteria that you're getting rid of or the stuff that is impeding the mechanical filtration from
it's
working?
the same, it's one and the same, essentially.
Not really.
Hmm. But
Okay.
no, it's just you're okay. So as you're removing all that detritus out of your sponge filter, you're also removing you're also removing biological filtration with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, what's on the surface of that detritus? Yes.
Yeah. Well, now that you have all this extra room, your beneficial bacteria continue growing again. You know, it's like slash and burn crop
This is
farming.
what I thought. I thought the bacteria will consume the dying bacteria. That's. I think what happens is when you have a mechanical filtration system, if you don't clean it out eventually, it won't be able to do its function, which is to mechanically filter the water. But that's how you can also have filterless for quote unquote, because it's not a filterless, it just doesn't have mechanical filtration because you still have biological filtration. And somebody mentioned them, LRB Bretts. Um, he's a prime example of having just biological filtration in your aquariums.
But they're also using plants. So it's not just bacteria. Plants is also a big factor in that setup as far as
But is
filtration
it?
goes. I
Is it?
believe so. I believe so.
Because see, the thing is, I have a tote that all I have are some um frog, not frog bed, dwarf water lettuce, and a
Hmm.
little bit of duckweed. But I really don't have plants in it. Water's clear, fish are fine, and I don't
So,
think it's enough plants in there to do all the consumption of the nitrates. It's got to have biological filtration on the surfaces of that tote.
it does. It does. It's just I mean, we're talking about a balance, right? And we can't assume that we can just do anything to an aquarium and it'll balance itself out. Because that's just, I mean, if that's the case, then we would never have any limits to how many fish we put in our tank or how much food we put in our tank. We all know too many fish and too much food will throw off the balance. You know what I'm saying? And so it's all about a balanced aquarium. Different filters balance out differently. I mean, some are better for balance, some are not as good. You know, they're more of a clarity filter to me. To me, you know, I think like undergraduate filters are 100% biological filtration. You know, depending on
See, that's what
depending on how little the grain is, depending on if it's mechanical.
I think they're both. They're biological and mechanical, but primarily mechanical. Mechanical because they're drawing that water, all the suspended particles.
Hmm.
It's siphoning them into the gravel, and when it pulls it through the gravel is what's doing all that mechanical filtration. It's trapping it in there so that the water that's clear. So it's
But
mechanical in
okay,
nature, but it does have biological.
I see. I believe it's different. Like the beneficial bacteria that grows over all the surfaces that we've been talking about grow on all those rocks. So if you have and here's the idea behind it. If you have a uh, a level, I like doing at least 2 inches, 3 inches of gravel when I do under gravel filters. All those rocks. every little surface of those rocks have beneficial bacteria, just like it does across every other surface of the tank. Where it does its best work is when water is getting passed to it, so it can get to that dirty ass water. You know what I mean? That's where it is actually working its best. That's how come we run water through the filtration, like, you know, it's for that purpose.
Isn't that considered mechanical filtration?
Anything that
it's mechanically removing the particulates.
Now, are we talking about particulates, or are we talking about ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate? Because I mean, there's a difference. You know,
that's going to be you see, the thing is, nothing filters that. It's biological. It's the bacteria on the surfaces of your aquarium that's consuming the nitrates.
And it works best when water is passed through it. It works best. Okay. So, sand filters.
Okay.
Sand filters. The idea behind sand filters is that you have the sand, little itty bitty pieces of sand, and they're moving around in your water. And as the water passes by the sand, then it gets that water with the ammonias and nitrates and nitrites and stuff. Well, nitrite, not ammonia, nitrite gets passed through it, and it's able to. The sand that's floating around could get to that water. So one of the benefits to that sand filters was that the sand beats against each other, right? And when the sand beats against each other, it knocks all the old beneficial bacteria off. I saw a video on it where they explained it way better than me, but it was constantly having fresh new bacteria growing. The mechanical part of the undergravel filter is only as good as how small the gravel is. If you have big ass rocks,
even if you had big, as you say, big ass rocks,
okay,
over time, it's gonna trap more particles. And it really becomes a polisher. That's why your water is usually very clear in undergravel filters, because the more of these little particulates start getting trapped within these gaps that are being formed, the finer and finer, the filtration gets. But this is just it's all mechanical filtration at that point.
But once you do a gravel vac on that canister, on that gravel vac, then that makes your entire system null and void, because you just pulled everything out of it.
Yeah,
you shouldn't do gravel vacs.
I mean, it's a personal choice. I don't do gravel vacs, but I don't have a problem with it.
But you have a different type of your undergravel filter is completely different than what it was originally designed for.
It's different because it has a lot of plants. That's the biggest difference.
It has a lot of plants. Yeah.
And for me, that's why I never understood what the big drawback was when I would hear people complain about undergravel filters in planted tanks, because isn't the purpose of stem plants and plants with roots that you want to get those nutrients to those roots? So what better method of delivery wouldn't it an undergravel filter be able to do that? Because not only is it passing oxygenated water through there, but you're drawing all these nutrients that you want to reach the roots. And all the loam that gets trapped in there eventually works its way in between those crevices, and the roots will uptake it.
Like I said, I'll take your word for it on that. I you know how I am about plants.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it on that one, but I do know that
this is true. This is the same thing that we were talking about earlier, where detritus will become inert after a while.
Yeah,
it's just dirt. That's all it really becomes.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I just undergravel filters is not really designed to be a polisher or mechanical filter.
Well, no, that's exactly what they are. They're mechanical filtration.
Mechanical filtration is physical.
What do you
physical.
think it's doing by trapping? Uh, well, look at okay. Let me put it like this: what you can replicate a water filtration system if you wanted to drink water out of a waterway, right? Like
Uh-huh.
you're not sure what the water source is. They taught us this in basic. You
Yeah,
know how to filter water. What
yeah,
are the things you're putting in there? Sand, gravel, and charcoal, obviously for the odors and whatever contaminants it could have. But the reason we put the fine sand, the gravel, and then the coarse gravel is because it's all doing mechanical filtration. That's its sole purpose.
yeah. But I mean, I don't care about if the water has particulates in it. I don't want it to be poison, and it's designed to have beneficial bacteria to remove the ammonia off of it. Like
That's what the no. We're talking about survival out in the field.
I understand what you're talking about. You put the sand in, and that takes out physical like little amoebas and stuff like that. I get that. But the underground filtration and in that okay, so that live stream that we're talking about, at one point I think KG said, I don't know why anybody even came up with this idea. It's ridiculous. Blah, blah, blah. The way it came up with, and I researched it way back in the day. You know, I was like, how the hell does this work? Why does this don't make sense? The idea of an underground filter came from purifying septic water.
Okay.
It came from doo-doo water. Like that's how they used to do it. They used to run it through rocks to let the biologicalness clean it. I'm sure there was a whole lot more going on. You know what I'm saying, as far as that goes. But that's where underground filters came from. They ran it across basically a big ass underground filter setup, and it cleaned it biologically, meaning it removed using the biological bacteria, beneficial bacteria to make it safe for fish to use. Now, if you're talking about particles, it only works as good as how small the gravel is. If you have itty bitty teeny weeny gravel like this like sand, I don't even want to get into sand because I've never done it, so I can't talk on it. But the smaller the gravel, the more physical particles it'll remove from the water. But that physical particle, as it breaks down, it becomes ammonia. So in all actuality, it's not until the beneficial bacteria gets to it, which is you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not necessarily designed to be a polisher or mechanical. Mechanicals technically.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah,
is a sponge filter a mechanical or biological filter?
both.
Exactly. So is an underground filter.
Yeah, but like I said, the mechanical part of it is only as good as the size gravel you put in it.
Yeah, but you're not going to put marble-sized gravel. Why would
You'd
you
be
do that?
surprised. Oh, I've seen, dude. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and there's
But,
some.
okay,
You'd
but
be
even
surprised. I've seen it.
even there, again, it's like anything else. It's going to get saturated, and as it starts getting saturated, it's gonna filter more and more. It's a little different than like an air conditioning filter. When it's brand new, the pores are real huge,
Yeah,
and air flows through it very easily. But over time, what starts happening, those pores start getting saturated, and then less and less is able to go through there. So it's mechanically filtering. It's
I
no different
agree.
than
I agree. But the big selling point of a sponge filter or a undergravel filter or any filtration, the biggest selling point is how much biological filtration it can hold, not necessarily how clean, how physical. Like I could see a particle. No, it's more of the biological aspect because that's what keeps your fish alive. I mean, just like people have these dirty, like these low tech tanks where the water's dirty as hell and dark and it's got mold all over the place. That's not going to kill your fish. It's unsightly, but it's not going to kill your fish. It's the actual biological aspect of filtration that keeps your water safe. Not necessarily crystal clear, which it does do, but safe. You know what I mean? The
Uh,
it's it's yeah. I did look into it. It's like
I
chemical, huh?
no, I was gonna say because I have some filterless aquariums. As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, that the water is crystal clear, so it's got nothing necessarily to do with.
that's because you found a balance. Because you're an
Yeah,
experienced fish keeper.
yeah,
But if you're new to the hobby and you don't know this balance, you know, um, you're gonna have issues, regardless of how much biological filtration. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of, there's a point. There's a point where it's just too much. It can't handle it. You know, too much food is my biggest thing. Like, I don't see how you can just just randomly just dump food in the tank and expect your biological filtration to keep up with it, unless you have a lot of surface area that the water's passing through, where it could get a hold of it. You know, crystal clear is a definite, that, because there's two different types of crystal clear. There's crystal clear where there's no particles in there, which is what most of us and in the chat don't really care about.
yeah.
Oh, there's a little hair, there's a little speck. That we don't really care about that because we know that's not going to kill the fish. Sorry, June, but I don't have. And then there's clear where your biological filtration is working at 100% capacity efficiency. You could always throw that off, depending on the filtration you have. I happen to think underground filters are really good at being able to handle large amounts of biological filtration. Filter sponges do, like we said from the beginning. It's a place. There's a place for everything in the hobby, as far But the aspect of people saying that it doesn't matter, your beneficial bacteria will catch up and eventually everything will be great. That I don't believe that to be 100% true, because
But isn't that what we're talking about? A balanced aquarium?
Yeah. But
So isn't that the point of? I guess the definition would be, when you're talking about overstocking, is constantly adding new fish, and then that would probably be different. But if it's the same fish, even that you started off with, and it's growing that way, I don't know.
Yeah. No. I feel you on that, and to a point that's true. But like, let's say I had, let's say I had a 125 and I put 10 baby Oscars in there. Yes,
Okay.
the beneficial bacteria will meet the needs of those 10 baby Oscars in a 125. And as those baby Oscars grow, if they do not die, the beneficial bacteria will also start to rise with it. But at some point, they're going to eat a whole hell of a lot more, and they're going to crap a whole hell of a lot more. We probably going to overfeed a little bit more because we love watching Oscars eat them up. And there's a good chance that you're not going to have enough beneficial bacteria unless you put more beneficial bacteria surfaces for more to grow on. Like, there is a point. There is a point where you can overload your beneficial bacteria. There is. And that's where we have big fish in big monster tanks with cloudy white water.
I guess I maybe it's doesn't really happen to me like that, because I don't have big body fish. Most of them are small, and
yeah. So I used to do aquarium maintenances on people's, and people used to go, I don't know why, I need it all the time. It keeps nothing I can do, and I would just say get another aqua clear, but just take the charcoal out and put another sponge, and that extra surface for that biological filtration did the trick, because now there's more room for biological, and it did the trick. It did.
Okay. I think it's the fact that it had more mechanical surface, but
it wasn't cloudy. It was cloudy white. I don't care what you siphon your water from. If there's an ammonia bloom, that water is going to come out the other end white.
Yeah.
It's the mechanical part of cloudy white water. There's no way of getting past that except through removing it physically by doing a water change or upping your beneficial bacteria. You could siphon it through anything. It's still going to be cloudy white because now that's just the nature of that water now. You know, there's no mechanical filter that can clean out cloudy white water. There is those chemicals that you can use, but if a chemical makes it is the only thing that makes it, then that's not really mechanical. Cloudy white water can't be mechanically removed by anything. At least not that I've seen. I wonder if there is a media that could clean out cloudy white water, but I seriously doubt it. You have to boil it. I guess I don't even know. Then it might still be cloudy because
I don't think that would benefit then you'd be filling off with little beneficial bacteria in it. Yeah, but so you think we beat this horse to death now?
No. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
All right. Well, I guess
I'm happy.
You're what?
No, I'm happy with it. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Right,
let's go see if, some questions because I thought we were going to address some of the questions and we never got around to it.
Because we was arguing.
Yeah, I know. We were bickering like old ladies.
Yeah. All right. Can I say something real fast?
Sure.
A little bit of a self promo if you don't mind. So I started handling Consolidated Fish Farms Facebook channel. Now you might think, oh, I'm already friends with Consolidated Fish Farm on Facebook. Not necessarily the case. The original Facebook post domain page, whatever, is now changed to Field and Tide and Stream. If you want to see what Consolidated Fish Farm has wholesale wise, then you have to go back and do Consolidated Fish Farm and friend again. Now, I know that don't mean nothing to you because you're not a fish store, but if you go to your local fish store and be like, hey, you should follow these guys so you can see the fish that you can possibly buy, because other than those videos, people are just seeing words on paper. This way, we can actually show the LFSs what we have, what they can have to offer to you. So if you don't mind, please become friends at Consolidated Fish Farm Facebook and tell your local LFS to do the same. Thank you.
Okay. Here's what I was kind of alluding to, and I was wondering, but I guess Lumpy Dog says that he's kind of seeing the same results. And it kind of makes sense because if the idea of an underground filter is to pull everything down, it just to me it just seemed like common sense. Not that I have a lot of sense, but when I think about it, it just kind of resonated with me. And sure enough, I mean, the one that I have set up that way, my plants, especially the dwarf Sagittarius, is going bananas.
I assume, like, on paper that makes sense to me, but is it possible, and I'm not arguing, I'm questioning because I don't know, is it possible that you can do so well at your plants that the roots will grow tremendously, like they were saying that swords and stuff, to where at some point those roots will clog up the holes in the I don't know, I'm asking, is it possible? I imagine it is possible, but is it something that happens on a regular?
The only way I could see that, because you do get the such a thing that's called like root impact, I guess, like on potted plants, where they just grow so much to the point where there's hardly any substrate in, any dirt in there anymore, and the roots are. I guess over years you might be able to do that, but even then, since it's, I just don't know. I don't know. I haven't. My tanks have been up for almost 3 years now, 3 going on 4 years, and I haven't had an issue yet. Talk to me in another 5, see what's going on.
So, a lot of people are saying that yes, it can happen, but it's an unusually long time for that to happen. So I don't know. I guess if y'all say so, I don't know.
Yeah, I like I said, give me another, 10 years
40
under the
years.
belt,
No,
and
40.
let me see what's going on in there and see if that happens. But even the way that's set up, it's not necessarily bad because it's set up as a plenum, and the purpose of the plenum is to have very slow moving water through there, so it might just get better.
Mhm. Maybe. Um, your words will go. What?
Your swords will go
Oh,
immersed long
swords.
before. Yeah, they'll be
Immerse.
growing out of it. Yeah, they'll be
Oh,
growing
growing
out
out
of
of.
the tank.
Okay. I guess
I
so.
actually
If y'all
think
say so.
if you think about it, maybe if that were to happen, then the root system will start growing a lot quicker because then that plant will convert over to immerse and it's got access to CO2
Mm-hmm.
and it'll just go ham. It'll just and then at that point, but by that point, it'll probably take over your whole aquarium anyway. So I guess
Hmm.
there could be such a thing, but it'd be interesting to find out how many years it would take. It says, "As you like your 25 under, you don't know about what?" I'm not sure I understand Jesse's question. Oh, he's been doing it for about 30 years. So, well, there you go. Talk about longevity with undergravel filters and planted aquariums.
I guess so.
So,
Like I said, I've never tried it. I've never seen it. So if y'all say so, okay.
well, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. I know we were kind of all over the place. We started out
Yeah.
with one thing and it just kind of went to another. Um, also, I don't know if this is something you guys are interested in us having these conversations or not. If it is, let us know. We could probably do.
Yeah.
It won't be like every day, every week kind of
No.
thing, but I think occasionally we come together and we all have
Yeah.
conversations about trending topics, I guess.
Yeah. I'm all about that. Like we could actually switch channels and do stuff like that. I would probably drop one of my days that I do live streams if we do this on a regular basis. Just because I still got to make my videos. My videos are still number one, and this week I let a week pass, and I'm upset at myself for it. And I know it's because doing two live streams and doing um, the consolidated stuff, I may have to drop a live stream and do something like we're talking about, where it's okay if I have time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Hey, before we take off, one of the things that, and I don't think I've heard you talk about this, but I know we've had that conversation. If people are interested in trying to buy from you guys as a wholesaler, what are some of the basic things that they need to have to be able to buy
tax ID
wholesale
number.
from you?
Tax ID number. We don't care about anything else.
Just the what is it, EIN number? That's it.
So for those guys out there
Does it
who are
matter?
thinking, huh,
Does it matter what kind of it could be any
man,
tax ID?
we've had meat companies try and get it, and what it is. Okay, so here's what happens. So we'll have companies, like I said, there's a butcher, basically their meat packing place. You know, they just, and I said meat packing. So they called us up. They was like, "Hey, can we order fish from you?" The only reason why we didn't do it was because they were ordering quite a bit of fish. Now, what probably happened is somebody was like, "Hey, you have a company, right? And we're buddies. Can you buy me fish from this wholesaler and I'll just give you the money?" Honestly, we don't have a problem with that. We
Okay.
don't. Legally, there's nothing stopping us from doing that. What did what I had a problem with is, okay, so we have a return policy, right? If we send you fish and they die within a certain amount of time, then we go ahead and refund you the fish. Now, there's nothing saying that a LFS isn't going to be stupid and mess up and kill the fish that we send them, but at least we know that they're LFS, and chances are they know what they're doing. We're taking the chance. Now, I send these fish to a meat packing place and it's like, hey, half of them are dead. I'm going to say, well, we're not giving you your money back because you're a meat packing place. You probably don't know what the hell you're doing. So just to avoid all of that, we just didn't do it. But if you are an experienced fish keeper with a tax ID number, as far as I know, you're going to sell these. You're going to resell these fish, whether you keep them or whatever. I don't care what you're doing. We only have to sell it to you because you have a tax ID number. But at least I have an idea. Okay, you got a name that says aquatics on the back, so you must be an expert. We're going to go ahead and sell you the fish. We'll be all right with that, But if you're like, Joey's Butchers, hey, we probably, you might not know what you're doing, brother. Sell you these fish. All right, cut off. We'll sell you these fish, but there's no refunds, man. We don't know what you're gonna do with them,
All right, so I just wanted to, because I know some people have asked me a little bit about what they needed. I figured that the best person to tell them is what you guys are looking for.
And you can get my work phone number and all that stuff. Guess where? On the Facebook consolidated thing, you can see it's all there. All my information as far as how to get in contact with me is on the Facebook thing. So that's the only way you can see it publicly, because normally I'm only talking with businesses. But yeah.
Well, I'm gonna help out Jake here a little bit, because I know he was. If you guys, I don't know how many of you guys are aware of Hagen Hill Designs. Is it Hagen or Hagen? Hagen.
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 No, it's Haagen-Dazs, like Hagen Hills. I tried to Hagen. It's Hagen, like
Haagen-Dazs. That's right.
It's German.
Oh, okay.
German.
Well, they have a Monday stream called Case of the Monday. So if you guys have an opportunity to go check them out, make sure you guys do. I know Skull Aquatics just dropped a link to their channel.
Yeah.
So
let me go check. Jake is like, and then Katie's like, don't do that. Okay, that's the whole stream right there. It's like Billy Bob Thornton's cousin, just extremely more drunker. That's so you'll love it. You'll love it. It's great.
So go check them out, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. As a matter of fact, on my channel, I'm going to plug that stream. Zach from Something Fishy. There's like 3 Something Fishies on YouTube. There's more than 3, but this is one of the Something Fishy.
Bro, you know how many pet stores are called Something Fishy on my list that I call on a regular basis? Which one?
30.
Is it the one in Texas, or is it the one in California, or is it the one in New York? I don't know.
There's one in Ohio that I know is called that, and then there's the young lady that's doing the what I call the Wikipedia for fish. Her name is also Something Fishy.
And Benji, you're right. He does play the guitar and sings, but it's kind of like this. Thank you for the plug. Much. All right,
guys. Well, you guys take care, and we'll see you guys soon, and well, hopefully tomorrow. So take it easy.
Oh, yep. Deuces later. Peace later. Bye.